hit her with a stick. When I hit that girl the second time, and I was just in the, what the hell? There's a truck coming. There's a pickup truck right there. I mean, watching me. You know what I mean? I was like, you know, she was still alive. I mean, she was moving and moaning. She was alive.
On October 11th, 1991, Linda Little, who worked as a waitress at a restaurant in Daytona Beach, Florida, disappeared without a trace after finishing her shift. Her sudden disappearance left police confused for many years. But everything changed when the man responsible had a change of heart while in prison and confessed. So what really happened to Linda? Where did she go after leaving work that night? Was someone following her? Or did she just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time? Welcome back to Dark Case Files, where we explore solved, unsolved, and strange cases from around the world. Today's story is about a shocking murder mystery that finally got solved after 30 years. Let's jump into it right now. Today's story takes us to Daytona Beach, a city on the east coast of Florida's Panhandle. It's well known for its beautiful white sand beaches and the famous International Speedway, which draws racing fans from all over. The city is filled with resorts, tourist attractions, and amazing ocean views, making it a popular place for millions of visitors every year. But let's go back to where it all began. Linda was born on October 29, 1947, in North Carolina. Not much is known about her early years, except that she grew up in a loving family with 3 siblings. Her younger sister, Joy Little, said Linda was full of energy and fun to be around. Around the age of 19, Linda had her first and only child, a son named Mike Parrish. It's not known who Mike's father was or when Linda met him, but she eventually raised her son on her own, with strong support from her family. In 1989, when Linda was 41 years old, she left North Carolina and moved to Daytona Beach, Florida. Her new apartment was very close to the well-known Broadway Bridge in downtown Daytona, and she lived there alone. To support herself in the new city, she got a job as a waitress at the Chart House restaurant on South Beach Street. Her co-workers really liked her because of her cheerful attitude. Even though the pay at her job wasn't a lot, it was enough for her to manage. Linda enjoyed riding her bike and often cycled to and from work as well as other places. She owned a blue and rust-colored Murray touring bike and used it almost every day. Around that time, she started dating a man from New Smyrna Beach, which is about a 24-minute drive from Daytona Beach. Life seemed to be going well for Linda. She had a steady job, a boyfriend, supportive family, and good friends. She seemed truly happy. Sadly, she had no idea that everything she was enjoying would soon be taken away from her in the most unexpected way. By October 11, 1991, it had been almost 2 years since Linda moved to Daytona Beach. Those 2 years passed quickly, and to her, it didn't feel like it had been that long. That morning, around 1 a.m., she finished her shift at the Chart House restaurant and got ready to leave. Serving hungry guests all night had left her tired, and she was eager to go. She quickly changed into black stretch pants and a white shirt, said goodbye to her co-workers, and left the restaurant carrying her backpack. Linda always cared about how she looked, so she usually brought clean clothes and some makeup for after work, all packed neatly in her backpack. She got on her Murray touring bike and rode off toward a bar on Broadway called Matey's Brig Bar. She was planning to have a few drinks there with her friends before heading home. Once she arrived, she hopped off her bike and locked it in a spot she thought was safe. After that, she stepped inside the loud bar and soon spotted her friends sitting at a table, talking excitedly. She joined them, and they started chatting about her love life. Linda smiled as she shared details about her new boyfriend and mentioned they were planning a trip that weekend. She pulled out a Florida map from her backpack and showed them the places she and her boyfriend wanted to explore. Linda's friends were happy for her, but what they didn't know was that she hadn't told them everything. The truth was, Linda and her boyfriend were not actually going on a trip. Although they had made those plans together, her boyfriend canceled them at the last minute, saying he wanted to go deep-sea fishing instead. This change upset Linda, but she didn't tell her friends that the trip had been called off. It's still unclear why she pretended the trip was still happening. Around 2 a.m., Linda decided it was time to head home. She said goodbye to everyone, left the bar, and rode off on her bike. On the way home, she stopped at a 7-Eleven store close to her apartment to buy chocolate milk and a donut. After paying, she hopped back on her bike and continued home. That was the last time anyone saw her. The next day, Linda didn't show up for her shift at the Chart House restaurant. Her absence surprised everyone. She never missed work without letting someone know. In the past, she would call her boss or ask someone to fill in for her. Still, her coworkers stayed focused on their tasks and hoped she would be back the next day. But when she didn't show up again, concern grew. One of her coworkers finally called her sister, Joy Little, to let her know something seemed wrong. "We all knew something had happened," Joy later said when she recalled hearing about her sister's disappearance. A few days later, Linda's friend and coworker, Barbara Sheridan, officially reported her missing. At the same time, her landlord, who also hadn't seen her around, got worried and contacted the police to report her missing as well. Detectives in Daytona Beach were suddenly faced with a tough case, finding a woman who had vanished without a trace. The first place they decided to check was Linda's apartment, hoping they might find something there to help them understand what had happened. With the help of the landlord, the police entered her unit and began looking around carefully. Nothing seemed out of place, and there were no signs that anything had been disturbed. Her bed was neatly made and looked like it hadn't been used at all, which led detectives to believe that Linda never made it home after her shift on October 11th. At this point, the police knew they had a serious case on their hands. Still, they were committed to uncovering what had really happened. After searching her home, the investigation moved on to speaking with people who knew her. They asked questions around her neighborhood and also talked to coworkers and friends. That's when they learned that Linda had stopped by Matey's Brig Bar after work and later visited a 7-Eleven store nearby. But after that point, her trail went cold. No one could say what happened next. It all seemed very strange. As part of the investigation, detectives also interviewed Linda's boyfriend, since it was possible he had some answers. But even after speaking with him, they didn't uncover anything new. They were still left with more questions than answers. There was nothing that connected Linda's boyfriend to her disappearance. He told the detectives about the canceled vacation they had planned and explained that it was originally meant to celebrate their first anniversary together. During the questioning, detectives also uncovered another shocking detail. The boyfriend was already married. When Linda's family found out about this, they were stunned. They were sure Linda had no idea that the man she was dating was married. The police kept pushing forward with their investigation and began to dig even deeper. They brought in a K-9 unit to assist with the search, hoping that the trained dogs might find a clue. The areas where Linda was last seen were searched thoroughly, including wooded paths, back roads, and even nearby water bodies. But no matter how much ground they covered, they couldn't find a single piece of evidence. Linda and the bicycle she was riding were both gone. It was as if she had disappeared without a trace. The detectives strongly suspected that something terrible had happened to her, but they had no solid proof to suggest foul play. "There's no telling what happened. We had nothing to go on," said Deputy Chief Steve Perez of the Daytona Beach Police Department. Linda's family also reached out to the public, hoping someone might have seen or heard something that could help find her. They offered a $5,000 reward for any information about her location. On top of that, they printed and handed out 3,500 missing person flyers. The flyers described Linda as having reddish-brown hair, blue eyes, and standing about 5 feet 11 inches tall. Her weight was listed between 150 and 180 pounds, and they included details about the clothes she was last seen wearing. Some of these flyers were handed over to truck drivers, asking them to spread them across the country. Billboards were also put up in key spots throughout Daytona Beach to raise awareness. Desperate for any answers, Linda's family even contacted a self-proclaimed psychic, hoping for a clue to her whereabouts. Sadly, the year after Linda disappeared, her father passed away. The family, already heartbroken over Linda's vanishing, now had to face another sudden loss. It was a painful time that brought even more sorrow to those who loved her. In 1996, Linda's family received a phone call that left them both stunned and puzzled. The caller claimed to have met Linda in North Carolina. When asked for his name, he refused to share it and abruptly ended the call. The man was never heard from again, and to this day, no one knows who he was. In 2011, 20 years after Linda disappeared, her family spoke to the local media. During an interview with the Daytona Beach News Journal, they shared that they hadn't given up searching for her and still held on to hope that she would be found someday. "I've never truly grieved for her," Joy Little said at the time. "I've worked for her because I feel it's what I should do. I'm trying to find answers to questions that remain unanswered." In 2016, the case was reassigned to a new team of detectives at the Daytona Beach Police Department. However, no matter how they approached it, nothing about the case seemed to make sense. The available evidence was simply not enough to make any real progress, leaving the detectives feeling frustrated. The case would remain stagnant for another 4 years until something unexpected occurred in early January 2020. The Daytona Beach Police Department received a call from an inspector at the Tomoka Correctional Institution, which was also located in Daytona Beach. The inspector informed them about an inmate who claimed to have information regarding an unsolved murder. The inmate, 51-year-old Michael Townson, was serving a life sentence for the 2007 murder of a Titusville woman named Sherry Cormento. Townsend and Sherry had been childhood friends who reconnected after he was released from prison in late 2006. He had been incarcerated in 1994 for a series of charges, including robbery, grand theft, and burglary. After his release, Sherry allowed Townsend to stay with her family for a few days. During his stay, he brutally beat her to death with a metal fence post and a hammer. He then dragged her body to the laundry room, hiding it under a pile of clothes. Afterward, he took her vehicle and fled, eventually selling it to a group of people for an undisclosed amount. It didn't take long for Sherry's body to be found by her boyfriend, and Michael was quickly located and arrested. During the interrogation, he confessed to killing Sherry, claiming that they had been intimate and that he believed she might have knowingly given him AIDS. He said this was the reason for the murder. However, an autopsy revealed that Sherry did not have AIDS. When detectives learned about these details, they were immediately interested in what he might know about the unsolved murder of Linda Little, which he had contacted them about. An interview was arranged, and Townsend sat down to speak with detectives from the Daytona Beach Police Department. During the interview, he admitted that he was the one who had killed Linda back in 1991. Detectives were stunned by what they heard. To ensure that Townsend wasn't confusing Linda with someone else, they showed him a photo of her. He confirmed without hesitation that she was indeed the woman he remembered killing, saying, "No doubt about it." According to his statement, he had been living in Orlando but decided to travel to Daytona Beach to celebrate his birthday. He arrived in the city on October 10, 1991, and met Linda the following day at a bar in a resort hotel located at 701 South Atlantic Avenue in Daytona Beach. Unfortunately, it seemed to be a random encounter, and Linda just happened to meet the wrong person at the wrong time. Detective Sergeant Dave Dinardi of the Daytona Beach Police Department explained, "It was a random meeting, and unfortunately, Linda met the wrong person." After having a few drinks, they left the club in Michael's car. While driving, he suggested that they take a shower for some reason, which made Linda extremely upset. According to Townsend, she started yelling and screaming at him. As her noise grew louder, Townsend became increasingly angry. When he could no longer tolerate it, he slapped her hard across the face with the back of his hand. Afterward, he strangled her to death. When he realized she was dead, his next thought was to get rid of her body. He drove to Camden County in Georgia, where he disposed of her body behind a movable waste container. Detectives were amazed by the level of detail Townsend was able to provide, and they knew at that moment that the case had finally been solved. In addition to admitting to killing Linda, Michael also confessed to having killed 2 women in Memphis, Tennessee. After his confession, he explained that the reason he decided to come forward and tell the truth was because he had found God while in prison. Michael also claimed that his violent tendencies stemmed from being sexually abused by his stepfather and some family friends during his childhood. Daytona Beach Police Chief Jakari Young stated that Michael blamed his mother and the women in his life for not protecting him as a child, which led him to develop a deep hatred for women. When Linda's family was informed about the progress in the case, They felt a sense of relief and gratitude that Michael had come forward to admit to the crime. Speaking at a news conference, Linda's sister, Wanda Henson, said, "I know this is crazy, but I really want to thank Townsend for letting the family know what happened. I've been praying for closure, and God worked through him for him to have confessed to this. I've already forgiven Townsend. I refuse to live in fear, hate, and anger. It doesn't help me, it doesn't hurt anyone else except me." She also expressed her hope that other violent offenders would see Michael's story and be inspired to admit their wrongdoings so that other families could find the closure they needed as well. In December 2022, Michael pleaded guilty to the first-degree murder of Linda during a hearing at the Volusia County Courthouse in DeLand. Since he entered a guilty plea, prosecutors decided not to pursue the death penalty. However, he was handed another life sentence. In a press conference after the hearing, 7th Circuit State Attorney R.J. Larisa said, "The defendant is a confessed serial killer. It's gratifying to solve a cold case like this. I hope the plea brings peace to the family during the Christmas holidays." Detectives had previously tried to locate Linda's remains in the area where Michael claimed he dumped her body years ago, but they had no success. Through the dedication of detectives, the unwavering hope of Linda's family, and the confession of the killer, Linda's case was finally solved. However, the fate of Linda's body remains a mystery. There are many unanswered questions in this case which we will probably never get answers. Such as why Linda went to meet him at first place? Where is her bike? Or was it just a big cover-up? What are your thoughts on this tragic case? Do you think Townsend's childhood abuse contributed to his hatred toward women? Or do you believe it's just a weak excuse for the actions of a mindless killer? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, stay safe.